Does Liam Manning get enough credit? George says not. Even if you think the championship is weak, to have us at 7th is a complete overachievement. We literally don't have a centre forward and we're in the mix. It's quite remarkable trying to win a game with Sam Bell. Welcome back to Where Robbins Walk. This week, we've got 4 debates. Number 1, does Liam Manning deserve more credit? Why, after every poor result, do we have a Sam Bell pile-on? And is it deserved? We're talking about wages across the championship. And what do we think about those top earners at Bristol City? And to finish off with, stay towards the end because we're asking our panel, which teams from League One would we like to see in the championship next season? Of course, we're hoping not to be there ourselves, but we have got our regulars, Ben, Liam and Ethan, back with us, and we are delighted to be joined this week by Twitter Bristol City royalty in Suts himself. How are you, Suts?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Yeah, your bio is highly opinionated and always right. So we'll see we'll see how far that gets us this week. Right then, this week was
vocative as well. Yeah.
Right, let's start off then with our number 1 topic. Should Liam Manning get more credit than he is getting? I can't start with Liam because we know why that's going to go. So I'm going to have to start with someone I think might be a little more positive towards this one. Ethan, should Liam Manning be getting more credit with where you are in the league?
I think there's 2 sides to it. I think, it's probably a bit flattering, and he's got many flaws, as probably Liam would like to pick up on more than anyone in here. But I think to be in 7th is probably overachieving, like it said. But whether that comes down to Manning wholly or whether we're looking at the quality of the other teams around us. But to be fair, to be 7th, you've got to give him a little bit of credit.
Okay. There's some more social media tweets here. When we achieve nothing yet again at the end of the season, the Lansdowne are purely to blame. I'm not a massive fan of Manning's tactics, but to have this squad only 2 points outside the playoffs, he's done brilliantly. Ben, do you agree?
Sort of, yeah. I feel like our squad is stronger this year than it has been. I think it's probably one of the better teams we've had for the past few years, I'd say. But then again, if you'd say to me at the start of the year, 7th, kind of still in the hunt mid-March, then I think you've got to give some credit to Manning there because he's done something which the last couple of managers just haven't been able to do for us, and that's to get us in and around the mixer at this time of the season. So you can't not give a little bit of credit to him, in my opinion.
Okay. Now, don't worry, we're going to show some social media takes. This is the opposite side in a second, just to give that balance. But we carry on. Wiggly Woo says, our passing has improved so much under Manning and the decision making. Everyone is trying to do the right thing. We play like a top level team, Liam. We just don't have the individual quality to make it consistent. Does Manning deserve more credit, Mr. Fowler?
At times. I agree with what Ethan said, but I think we are punching a little bit above our weight so far this season. To have us in the mix where we are at this point of the season, it's filled us with optimism. I think myself, we do get carried away with it sometimes. I think there's areas of his game he needs to improve on. I think looking at yesterday, when Hull went down to 10 men, we didn't really seem to change anything. For me, anyway, that's my own personal tale. I still think we were a bit too cautious of how we should have been. I don't know why he kept the wing back system, but you should have gone 3-3 or 3-2-3-1. Had gone at him a bit more, but saying that Hull defended for their lives. But yeah, I think I've got to give him more credit than I usually do. I'll put my hands up and say that. But I still think there are elements of his game he needs to massively improve on.
Yeah, we'll have a look at some negative ones in a second. Thanks for that balanced view, Elliot. Right, so hope you're back with us.
What's your view on
Liam Manning?
I think he's copped some unfair stick. I mean, I do think at times that Bristol City fans are the most fickle fans in the country, and we change our tune. So yeah, I mean, he was copping a lot of stick when we went through a bad run, and I was at West Brom before Christmas, as I'm sure a lot of you guys were, and it was horrendous. It was an awful game, and he copped a lot of stick. And then obviously since Christmas, up until sort of yesterday, we won the most points outside the top 6. So And like I said, I think, yeah, with what we've got in terms of the squad, we've used the fewest number of players in the Championship this season. We don't have that out and out striker. I mean, Armstrong Sinclair is going to be one for the future. He's only young now. I think, yeah, we are punching. I do think he copped some unfair stick, but I can see at times where people get frustrated with him. I do think some of the stuff from yesterday, some of the comments are a little bit unfair, because when you look at the stats for the second half, we had 90% possession in the second half, and we battered them. We battered them. They didn't have a shot on target or off target, and we just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And that comes down to perhaps our striking options.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, the goalkeeper Panda was the whole city Twitter was full of praise for him, which I think says everything.
Yeah.
Let's look at the other side of your fan base then, shall we? Somerset Keitha says, so negative, Ethan. Possession football is boring. Here's no B plan. Forward-thinking players have like drummed out of them to keep the ball, not take a chance. And there were so many others saying, look, he's got no plan B. We're not having shots outside the penalty area. We're not taking shots on. We're always looking just to recycle the ball too often. Do these posters have a fair point?
Yeah, I think Sut's pretty much hit the nail on the head. I think I can see where people come from. Personally, for me, I am more of a fan of working the ball into the box rather than shooting on sight when it obviously suits. I think, the amount of chances we created on the weekend, we obviously didn't take them, but I think if it wasn't for Knight and Bird in the middle, I'd really struggle to watch us. I think that's probably one of my main things at the minute. But yeah, look, you've got to play to your strengths, and at the minute, I think we've got the players that can play that eye of a needle, ball through, or stuff like that. So yeah, I get it a little bit, but at the same time, I don't want to just limit ourselves to shots from 25 yards out.
Cheers, Ethan. To what extent, Ben, do you think the players are getting nervous now that there is so much to grab here? Some are questioning the mentality. We've been here before, never failed to disappoint. We're actually scared of achievement. Was a common theme coming through some. Just when you get so close, and you already seen that Coventry had won earlier in the day, and you would have known that Watford, Blackburn, and Middlesbrough would have all lost. But is there a sense, do you think, that perhaps some of these players are getting scared of what potentially they could achieve?
I don't know if scared is the right word, but I think there's definitely something mentally that is a bit different, because I feel like we have got a lot of young players, a lot of players that haven't experienced what we're experiencing now, trying to fight for that playoff spot. So definitely could be a sense of it where, it's something we're not used to, is a lot of pressure. I think as much as there's always a lot of pressure, the business end of the season, there's a lot of pressure. Like I said, it's a young team that's inexperienced, a young manager who's also inexperienced, which probably comes down to it. He's not used to, having this championship playoff race as well. So it's kind of a new experience for everyone, which is why you might not expect it to be, it's never going to be easy, obviously, but you'd also not expect maybe the best performances to come out of these kind of basketball games, maybe because of nerves and because of just, lack of experience.
Cheers, but you'd have taken 4 points from Millwall and Hull, though, wouldn't you, Liam?
Yes. At the beginning of the week, I thought Millwall was a bit more difficult than it was. I think it was such a scrappy game against Millwall the other night. Very, very bitty, very stop-start. But then yesterday, Hull, they don't not only beat Sheffield United, they absolutely murdered Sheffield United on their own patch, beat Sunderland. I did see quite a few tweets yesterday about Hull being probably one of the best sides we've seen at Ashton Gate this season, which I was a little bit surprised by. But they kept the ball well. First, until the sending off, they were popping it around quite nicely. But I think with the position there in the league and going down to 10 men, we have to find a way to break those teams down. So I know Ethan says he's a fan of getting the ball, working it into the box. I can understand that. But if the chance arises to take a pot from 20 yards, all it takes is a slight deflection. I'm a sort of bit in between with that one. I think at times you don't want to force it. You do want to retain the ball and work an opening. But when you've got 10 men behind the ball, you have to shoot. You have to shoot from 20, 25 yards to get that. There's going to be pockets of space to do that. But it does seem like the players, and I agree with what Ben was saying, there's a lot of inexperience in this side with to be in the position where we are. We haven't got any real players. I don't think Dickey's really had a chance at playoffs when he was a keeper. I could be wrong, but looking at the squad, we've had no one. Okay, we've got experience in the amount of games they've played, but we've got no experience where, right, we're chasing something here.
No, I think Naki Wells is probably the only person I could think of.
Yeah, possibly when he was at Burnley.
Probably had the experience back when he was
obviously
but
he wasn't playing yesterday.
No.
You need more. I agree with the way the club are going with signing these young, hungry players. I still think within that young, hungry group, you need 2 or 3 experienced heads to rally the troops and give it, right, come on, lads, extra 10% now. Knight's getting there with his captaincy. I've said before about being a captain. He, for me, doesn't quite do it. He's starting to show those signs.
Whereas I think I was thinking the last season we had them places because we had the Matty Jameses, the Andy Kings. I think they're the kind of players that we're almost want at this time of the year. They've had the experience, they know what they're doing, and they'll get you over the line. Yeah,
100%. So I think, we just need a couple of. We're missing that little bit of experience to get us over not necessarily get us over the line, but get us closer to the line. I think the next couple of games are vital for us. If we don't pick anything up at Sheffield United and Norwich, I think that could be us floating back down to 10th.
Okay. Cheers for that, everyone. You're going to have a say in the title race anyway, that's for certain. Obviously, playing Sheffield United and Leeds and the top teams that you are. Every time, though, there's a bit of a dodgy result or the fan base is upset. There's one player in particular in recent weeks that's been getting more stick than any other. Here's an example of what we're talking about. Matt here says Sam Bell should never play for us again, not even Championship standard. JH says Sam Bell is awful. And these are 2 of the more polite ones that we can publish. So what's your view on this? Is it fair?
Well, I'm never one to sort of go in and sort of be that highly critical of our own players. I think is unfair. And I think we're talking about sort of a mentality and getting over the line and things like that. We've got to remember that these players are human beings and they read this stuff as well. Yeah, they hear about it. Yeah, so that's gonna affect them. It's gonna affect their mentality and their confidence. Now with Sam Bell in particular, he's come back from injury. But what other I should say, but what other options do we have? What do we have to bring on up front? So with some injuries, Naki at the moment. So what else do we do? Yeah, Sam Bell probably isn't good enough at that level. He hasn't really proved what he's done. But what other options do we have at the moment? We don't. But yeah, and again, it comes. I just think it's really unfair to be that critical and that disparaging of our own players.
I think with the Sam Bell thing, though, I think a lot of the time he's been played out of position. We touched on this the other week. I see people screaming about Elijah Morrison, put him on at wing back. But Morrison's played about 10 minutes of Championship football. If he comes on and has an absolute stinker, you're going to get everyone jumping on his back. Oh, he's not good enough. He's not good enough. So for me, I tend to judge players when they play in their positions. You put Sam Bell on on the left of a front 3. I think he is effective. Put him as a wing back where he has that defense, where he has to be a bit more reserved and defensive minded with his positioning. He's not a natural at it. So you're going to have bad games when you play out of position. It's like putting a goalkeeper at centre forward. It'd be absolutely pointless. Or a centre forward in goal. It's the same principle.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing Manning has done a few times is play players out of their position. I mean, with Twine, when he was playing Twine out of his position. Yeah, I mean, that is not good. That is nowhere near going to be effective. He's not going to be effective there for us. He's a brilliant player where he is. You play players out of position. Yeah, they're not going to be up to speed. They're not going to be playing that well. And also, they're going on and being asked to do a job that they're not accustomed to. That is going to affect them as well.
Let's cross over live now to Sam Bell's biggest fan, Ethan.
Look, I get everyone's points, but for me, he's tool station level. Like I think I've played against better wingers this season. Like I swear, like it's frustrating, and he's playing out of position, but I don't think he's offered enough when he does play on the left of the front 3 to warrant the credit that he deserves to get in that front 3, if you get what I'm saying. I know we're very limited for options, but it just feels like there was more quality on the pitch, and then we've sort of replaced it with Sam Bell. But it might be me being a bit harsh. I got angry yesterday.
Okay. Let us know what you think in the comments. Is the Sam Bell criticism harsh or not? I think everyone's expectations are raised, aren't they? So everyone's looking for a scapegoat when it goes wrong. Thanks so much for that. This week we're talking about wages, in particular, where each club particularly is. There was a graphic which you may have seen on social media or floating around, which is done by Salary Sport. I'll just jump this off so we can actually see it. Ben, if I can get your reactions to it first of all. It's reported that you guys are spending roughly between 11.5 and 12.5 million pounds in wages this year. If we have a look at where that ranks in terms of everybody else, does that highlight just again what a job Manning's doing? And are you actually overachieving?
Possibly, yeah. It clearly shows that we're not spending anywhere near as much as the big hitters in the league. And then again, our club is there are a lot of clubs that are bigger than us in the league. There's a lot of clubs that have more money than us in the league, so that has to be part of it as well. And that's the main. It's the main part, really. I mean, we would be in the half of the smaller clubs in the league. I think with the amount of money that we've got, it's not really a big surprise. We haven't really got many players that scream big wages. I don't look at many. We haven't got players that, which is good, that kind of just want the big wages as well, which I imagine would be the case. I think I seen Luton there was second. I mean, you dread to really be involved in that club at the minute. The amount of money they're giving out to some of those players is not ideal. But it was handy getting rid of like Calvin Smith as well, because I believe he was on a big wage. But yeah, I think it definitely shows that we are probably overachieving as well a little bit.
Okay, Liam.
Yeah, I'm not surprised given what happened in the last few years. I go back to when Nigel Pearson was in charge. I know that's a bit of a swear word with City fans these days, but the club had to cut back massively on wages. They did get the big hitters like the Palmers, the Silvers. There's a few others, Callas, all the players on real high wages. They've seemed to have slowly edged them out, which I think is a sensible thing to do, of where we were. I think Lansdowne's put a cap on the wages as well. He's put a bit of a ceiling on what is allowed to be spent. I read a tweet the other day. I think it averages about 272 grand a week we're spending on wages. I could be wrong, which sounds a lot of money, but for championship clubs, it's not. Considering, I dread to think how much you look at Sunderland. They've got Lefay on loan. I can only imagine what sort of money he's on when he was at Roma, and what Sunderland are having to take from that. So yeah, I think in that sense, I think Manning he's handling things quite well with what he's being given.
Club's highest earner, anybody know?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Naismith.
I thought it was either Naki or Jason Knight.
Oh,
yeah,
Naki.
Yeah, it is Naki. Yeah, so this is rumoured, of course. Yeah, so looking down that list, there suits of Wells and McNally and Joe Williams and Knight all on 15,000 a week, rumoured. Obviously not anywhere, but this is taken from a reliable sports streaming site. Do you have any issues with anything you see there? Are they not being paid enough?
The standout there is like Naki is on a shed load, isn't he? And he's done all right there with his contract for someone over at 30, to be honest. But then he's scored some crucial goals for us and still do a job. But I think we want to keep these players. Looking on there, the likes of Cam Pring, that we want to keep players like Cam Pring in the club. And before we've seen what's happened, where dare I mention Tommy Conway? We don't know. Yeah, sorry, I should. You probably saw some of the stuff on Twitter over that. I shouldn't have mentioned it, but we don't know. No one knows the conversations that went on between the club and him and his agent, right? No one knows. Only they know. So we don't know what sort of money he was offered. What we have heard is that he was offered a shed load more to go to Middlesbrough. So I see what we've done. So yeah, we made the mistake before. So we went big, didn't we? Like you said, with the Callas and Palmer and that, and it didn't work out. so we went big. So it has to be a balance, and the club has been financially trying to get itself stable. But it's a balance between paying these players what they're worth, what they're expecting. But I think that, I mean, I'm sure you guys would agree, the biggest problem we have in football at the moment is the agents. The agents are sort of putting these ideas in players' heads and comparing to other clubs, and then what they would get. And then that's the battle we're in. But going back to the question, I think, with the wages that we're paying out and the position we're in, I think going back in, I think Manny's done a great job. And this is, if you like, his first full season where he's had a chance to do something.
Well, thank you for that, all of you. Let us know what you think in the comments below if you're surprised at that. And I said they're all rumoured figures. Lastly, this week, we are putting out our hopes for the teams we'd like to see come up next season. We might not be here, of course, so it might be completely irrelevant. But if we have a look at what's going on in League One at the moment, oops, that's the one I wanted. I want that on there. Thank you. Which teams currently who are fighting it out for the Championship would we like to see come up next season? We'll take one from each of you, if that's okay. Starting with you, Ethan.
I'd be happy with any of them but Wrexham, really. But no, if I had to choose three, it'd be Birmingham are too good for that league, so I'd bring them up in a heartbeat. I'd like Wickham, although it means probably Kone's a bit out of our reach. But and then the last one for me is Bolton. I really like what Schumacher's doing over there. He's got some top players, and they're in good form. So I'll go Bolton as well.
Okay, Liam.
I'm going to go with someone that's not on that list. I'd like to see Leighton Orient come up. I think the job Wellens is doing with Orient is an absolute brilliant job. I've got a friend at work who's a season ticket holder there, and Wellens was given a timeline of what the club wanted, and he's like 18 months ahead of where they want to be. So for me, Leighton Orient would be my first pick. I'd like to see them come up through the playoffs. And if I'm going for that, I'm going to go rogue. I'm going to say Stockport and Charlton.
Okay, decent shouts, Ben.
Birmingham, because they're just far too good for the league. I'm also actually going to go Leighton Orient. My dad's from Leighton, and I know it's a really good club down there. So, I think that would be quite fun to see them up. It's a bit different. And maybe Stockport as well, just because it's a little bit different, really, and they seem like a good little club.
Okay. Suits, finish yourself.
I say not that I want them to, but they are going to. Birmingham running away with it. In terms of automatic, I would say Wickham over Wrexham all day long. So I think Wrexham have got the opportunity that they could just they could storm it. They could sort of with the money just go away with things. But who do I want? It would be Stockport, because out of that top sort of 9 or 10, it's the only ground I haven't been to.
Brilliant. All right, so let us know in the comments. Anyone but Wrexham, so Bristol City fans. Right, you lot, thank you very much. A big week for Bristol City this week, of course. Sheffield United and, of course, Norwich will join you in 7 days' time, of course, to review it all. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Press the button there. Do follow these guys on Twitter. I'll put all their handles into the description below as well, and have a very good week. Fingers crossed we're talking about Bristol City being 6 by the time we meet again.